suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
David Whiting, your real good lawyer, is here. He's seated, he's ready and waiting to take your call. Hello, David.
Hello, Virginia.
What's happening?
Some homework and a really interesting YouTube video that made the newspapers.
Yeah, I know the one you're alluding to. We'll get to that. Let's put that to one side. Let's start off with our homework.
Homework was Peter from Frankston called last week, and he was ringing in relation to a dispute he had, or an issue that he's currently dealing with at AFCA, which is the Australian Financial Complaints Authority.
Yes.
And his issue was that a men's shed with which he is involved and a friend were both the target of exactly the same attack. The friend has had the whole of her account reinstated, and AFCA are only giving the men's shed half the money. And my real question was does AFCA have the right to deal for complaints for small business? The answer is yes, but there's also a review process at AFCA. So to my way of thinking, I would simply keep going. I got a few emails from people who essentially said it's funded by the banks. How can you expect a good answer? But I think they do a reasonably good job.
Okay.
So you do have review rights, pursue the review rights.
So just keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Now, videos.
Craig from Heathmont rang a couple of weeks ago and he said he'd caught a domestic flight to Brisbane. And for the last 20 years, he's taken a bicycle with him when he's travelled, and he has a specially built case for the bicycle, which is supposed to be robust. And for 19 years or 20 years, it's worked really well until a couple of months ago, he caught a flight to Brisbane and the bag got substantially damaged as part of the process. And we talked about what the complaint process were for the airlines, and he didn't tell us who the airline was. But airlines generally now outsource baggage handling. We employ as few people as possible. Yes. We make it someone else's job. If you were to look on YouTube for Qantas baggage handlers, none of whom work for Qantas, they just do Qantas work, you will see a video taken in airside, so the back of the public areas, for some fairly cavalier approach to handling people's baggage. Cavalier
in one instance in that video, and I do recommend that you go and see it because you'll take carry-on bags only. One of them actually picks up a bag, lifts it up over his head and slams it down as if he's doing a medicine ball exercise routine at his gym.
Yes, but is that the one where he missed the conveyor belt?
Oh, that one was another one where he chucked it over, actually went over the side, never to be seen again, I assume.
I must confess that in my long-distant past, I was a baggage handler.
Did you do that?
No, you didn't have time. The answer was you had very little time. It was a holiday job for Ansett.
Yeah. Right, back in the day.
Yeah.
But what's his recourse? What does he do now?
No, he continues with his claim, and what it will be an issue with the airline, the airline dealing with the people they contract for baggage handling. But what we've now got a video that someone's going to have to prove isn't typical behaviour. So I think Craig's case just got a bit stronger.
I think so too, and I think they're not going to be on strong ground saying, no, we treat your bags with kid gloves, although, of course, it might be different.
They were not wearing gloves.
1300 222 774. David Whiting can answer your calls. Jan in Baldwin, go right ahead. Good morning.
Oh, hi, David. Another video question. My dad's 99 and still in his own home and quite cognizant, and the medical power of attorney, my brother, wants to install a surveillance camera.
No, not without your dad's approval. If your dad had a guardian appointed by VCAT, or your dad had lost decision-making capacity and you decided that you were going to take on the role of a guardian, then you could put in a camera, but otherwise, no.
Right. Well, my brother rang because he's got lots of agencies involved with him.
Yes.
And my brother rang this particular agency yesterday, and they said, oh, yes, that's fine. My concern would be for the carers who are working with my dad or someone who's first responder. But, okay, so the answer is no.
Not without you. Well, if your dad is competent, then it's really a dad question, not a David question.
Does Dad want the camera installed, Jan?
I spoke to him last night, and it was the first he'd heard of it. But sometimes, he's 99.
But did you ask him directly, shall I install a camera for you, Dad?
told him that the plan was to install it, and he said, I don't want it.
Well, there you
Well,
are.
I think that's the end of the discussion. If your dad had one of those alarm systems that caught him when he fell, that I would understand. But what's the point of having a camera to watch for a problem with your dad unless you're going to be watching it all the time?
Yeah,
And I've really got to tell you,
my
I
thought
can
exactly.
think nothing more boring than watching a 99-year-old go through his day, all day,
Who'd
and
want
at
it?
night.
Does your dad have complaints about his care?
No, none at all. And he does have an alarm system, but the trouble is that sometimes he doesn't take it around his neck or whatever he's supposed
Yes.
to do with it.
Do you have concerns about his care?
I have concerns about invasion of the privacy of anyone who entered that home and people who are working with him. I think he's well cared for, so there's no concerns at all. But I think that putting a camera in adds a different level.
I think you'll also have some trouble with the carers, but from a practical point of view, you would need your dad's approval to put a camera in, and you would then need to make it clear to all the carers that whatever they did was going to be the subject of a camera.
But he's already said no.
Yes.
Okay, so that we'll leave it there. Jan, hope that's helpful. John in Moonee Ponds, go ahead.
I'm in line to get it answered.
John, hello.
Yes, hello.
You're on.
You're on.
Thank you. I have two questions, David.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Is my ex-wife obligated to share her super? And is there a regulated percentage by law?
Let's do the second question first, and the answer to that is no. On the breakdown of a marriage, there's an allocation of assets. The super's in the pool. But you need to recognise that if there is super that existed prior to your relationship starting, no. All right?
Okay, so I understand. So the amount of the amount of payout, so to speak, is the super's included into that.
No, you have an asset pool. What you then do is try and pull out of the asset pool the contributions that were made when the relationship started, and any extraordinary contributions like inheritances or lottery winnings, those sorts of things.
And then that all goes into the pool that's included the house that you might jointly own together or whatever, and
Yes.
then it's divided up.
Yeah.
But there's no formulation for that
Well,
division?
no, we assume that the contributions that you both made during the course of the marriage are equal. So it's someone makes $1 million and someone's a home carer, we'll assume that their contribution is of equal value in their relationship. So your starting point for that contribution is 50-50. And then you might push it having regard to need.
Does that answer your question, John?
It certainly does, Virginia, and I appreciate your program. Thank you very much.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for calling in. Francis in Caulfield North. Hi, Francis. How can we help?
Hello, David. We three brothers were left our mother's home in her will. One brother would like to gift his share to another. Is there stamp duty on that transfer?
Yes. On the value of the third.
Is that so?
Yeah. So if it was is the brother who wants to gift taking other assets in lieu?
No.
Okay, it's just, here's the property given to three people, and one of them says, another of my brothers can have the property. There will be stamp duty payable on the value of the interest being transferred.
Okay.
Right?
Easy.
Because it's not a gift in a will at that stage. It's a gift from brother to brother.
That's right.
If the three of you took the title, a third, there would be no stamp duty on that transfer. One of the brothers says, well, I don't actually want it, I want it to go to brother number two. There's stamp duty payable on the value of the interest being transferred.
Does that apply to all sort of transferred gifts between family members, or only in relation to an estate or will?
The assumption is that if you transfer a property, then that is a transfer of dutiable property, and you pay duty at ad valorem rates.
Right.
So generally a percentage, an increasing percentage, it's a tax, so it gets worse as you get more expensive.
So
So
is
at
it-
$1 million, it's 5.5%. At $2 million, it's 6.5%.
Is that why some people do that through family trusts? Because therefore it doesn't.
Well, at that stage, you're not transferring ownership of the asset. So it would be possible for the asset to be in a family trust, and you transfer control of the family trust, but not control
Of the
not
asset.
not direct ownership
Got
of
it.
the asset.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Hope that's helpful, Francis. Thank you for calling in. We've got John in Forest Hill. Hi, John. What's going on?
Good morning. Thanks. Love your program. Just a quick question. Is it legal for police to sit at the bottom of a very steep hill and issue a fine, speeding fine?
Yep. The road rules apply on hills as well as on the flat.
Right, because when I got to the cell, it was 8% grade. I thought, oh, that seems too steep. Within 400 metres, like just after I'd passed it,
Yep.
I was from 60, I was already doing 80.
It's
So
still
I applied my brakes.
I understand, but the speed limit applies on the hill. I mean, I remember growing up. There's a glorious hill in Gaffney Street, Pascoe Vale, and
I know that
with,
one.
with the railway line at the bottom of the hill, the speed limit applies whether you're going up or down.
And John, that's why they invented brakes. You're supposed to use your brakes on those hills.
I applied the brakes, but I'm not going to stop. I applied them to slow me down.
That's right.
Yes.
And
From
the
80
police
to
officers-
60.
And that keeps you under the speed. John, I know you know this. You know this. You know you're no matter what the road is, you're supposed to stick to the speed limit. Yes.
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 But the policeman said it would have been difficult for me to judge my speed because there was no one around me.
Well, sorry, were you on a push bike without a speedo, or were you in a car with a speedo?
In a car, but I'd also been watching for rock falls and tree falls up in the Dandenongs, which is where I was.
Right. Did you get a fine?
Yes, I've actually put it up for review.
I'm sorry, John. You're driving in the Dandenongs, you're worried about tree falls and rock falls, and you want to sit on the limit. It doesn't work for me.
No,
if
you
you
should-
come along and say, I'm really anxious about the conditions, I should be driving well under the limit rather
Slowly.
than
That's right.
on the limit.
Yes.
Yeah, good
Sorry,
on you,
no
John.
sympathy here.
Sorry, but no, you're not getting much sympathy this morning. I don't have much sympathy for the oh my goodness, what a revenue raiser that speed camera is. The speed camera is not a revenue raiser. The people who are choosing to speed are the revenue raisers. Well, there's no fine unless you go over the limit. Come on.
No, I've got a big brother, I'm being watched all the time problem. But it's look, the answer is it's efficient. Do I see it as a revenue raiser? Yes, but it works in improving road safety and speeds.
It only raises revenue if you go over the limit.
Okay, so only from
Otherwise,
guilty people.
There's
is that
no,
right?
there's no
Only collects
revenue to
money from-
raise otherwise. It's true. Oh, for goodness sake. All right. Shelley in East Melbourne. Hi, Shelley. What's going on?
Hi, thank you. I'd just like to ask David, is there any avenue we have to get some respite from helicopter joy flights and training flights over our suburbs? I have lived here for 40 years, and for the past 10 years, this has started, and we went to local government, state government, federal government, and there's no one who can help us. Even the air noise control ombudsman is also paid by air services. So there's no one we can take our issue to. I was wondering if David would have any idea. Our human rights, I feel, we have no say.
See, the problem's going to be that the system would say that your human rights are not affected by the joy flights. While in theory the law says you own to the centre of the earth and up to the edge of the stratosphere, in practical terms we're trying to work out whether your rights are interfered with. So there have been a number of cases relating to cranes. So somebody next door to you is putting up a multi-storey building and they want the crane to be over the top of your property while it's working. The courts have found that that is going to interfere with your rights of occupation of your property. But on the other hand, I live near a flight path, and if there is a plane that's flying over me at 4 kilometres up, is it interfering with my property? Now, there are guidelines issued by CASA in relation to the use of helicopters, And so, for example, we're one of the few cities that's got a flight path through the middle of town.
Yep,
So for the heliport, we're opposite the casino.
that's right.
So you need to, if you were able to be satisfied that they were not following the regulations, and your privacy was being affected or your use of property was affected, yes, you could make a claim, but you would need to go to court, and you would need to establish that the operator of the helicopter, so you're going to need to have lots of pictures and some very good telescopes, that the operator of that helicopter was interfering with your use and occupation of your property.
Shelley, whereabouts are you, and how loud and low are those helicopters?
It is so loud. It's like Harley Davidson flying over.
Are you near the MCG, Shelley?
No, we're in the middle of East Melbourne, and first time I thought that it was some like a terrorist attack, because it was after 9/11, and I rang the police to say if there was an attack happening, and then we rang EPA, then slowly found out that
it's actually just the Joy flights. So what do you leave Shelley with today, David?
But she's got to prove that she's been adversely affected, and it's a claim against each operator and each pilot. But I would be looking to see there'll be some CASA regulations in relation to overflying Melbourne. Mm-hmm. You need to look at those and find out whether that's then where you start with CASA.
Okay, good luck with that, and sorry it's such a noisy place to be. I've got text messages saying something similar. Helicopter traffic is now an issue on text, and also I was woken at 4 a.m. Here's another one.
Well, except the helicopter at 4 a.m. is VicPol.
Sure, exactly. There are emergency helicopters, and also could be a medical transfer as well.
Yes.
I live near the Royal Melbourne Hospital, so I've got their helipad going day and night. They're taking off, they're coming down, and also the children's as well, and I choose just to block it out because I got no choice. They were there before I was. And at least 12 times a day, says another one here. Michael in Box Hill North, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
I have a fencing issue with my neighbour. It's about to collapse and needs to be replaced. And I couldn't find the current owner, although the information is given to me by the council, the names, but they are overseas. So how do I give them a notice, sense of notice, or a court order? Do I just place in the mail?
If you were to do a title search rather than just rely on the council records?
No, I already got the details, but it's just that they are not there. They are overseas.
Yes, no, I'm saying, did you get the details from the council, or did you get the details
council, yes.
Did you? But I'm saying you do a title search to see who the government says is their registered address. And is the property rented or is it vacant?
It's vacant. Sometimes it's vacant, sometimes there are people in there.
You don't think there's an agent managing the property?
No.
Right. Then I would be serving a fencing notice by mail at the address that the council gives you and at the address shown on a title search. I would then issue and then what you do is the fencing summons is the process, and you ask the court to allow for substituted service.
Okay. Well, sorry, what do you mean?
So what you do is you're asking the court to say, I can't find these people. What I want to be able to do is issue proceedings against them. To do that properly, I need to serve them. I can't find them. I want the court to tell me how I might either bring it to their attention or consider that it's brought to their attention.
All right. So you'll be expense through a lawyer.
Everything is expensive, Michael. The next thing I'd do is probably look and see if you could find out who the agent was when the property was last sold, and ask them who the lawyers were who acted at the time of sale or the time of purchase, and probably bring it to their attention as well.
Okay, I hope that's helpful. Good luck with that. We do like talking about fencing issues here because they can get, unusually complex, can't they? And it's a very everyday issue that I feel every question answers 5 or 7 other questions that are being raised out in the community.
Absolutely.
Every time we go there, so always happy to. I think we can get to one last one before we wrap up today. Kim in Mount Martha. Kim, what's going on? Hello.
Oh, hi, Virginia. Hi, David.
Hi.
I live in a property where a telegraph pole is out the front, and all three of my neighbours, so myself and my two neighbours on either side, all of their electrical lines come over my property. And because we're on a slope, they're quite kind of low down into my property. I'm just wondering if I wanted to do any renovations or things out the front of my property, they're actually in the way. And I'm just wondering, is it possible for that to be illegal?
It's probably not illegal. It was probably made with the agreement of everybody who owned the properties at the time it went in. And so it will be... Have you spoken to the Power Authority about the relocation of those lines?
No, I haven't. I just kind of wanted to see if it was even possible, whether they would just say, if you want them moved, you need to pay for it.
Kim, I don't have any homework for next week. I now do. All right.
All right, we'll have a look.
Thank
So
you.
you have to listen in. I think we can quickly fit in one last one. George in Port Melbourne. Hi, George. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. My question, hello David.
Hi.
My question relates to a current class action for Takata airbags, for which I had registered in November 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to me, an email was sent to me on the 19th of September 2022 requesting my bank account details. And it's because I missed the deadline of the 31st of October 2022 to reply to this email. This has now made me ineligible for the claim. But I didn't see this email, and I didn't know when to expect to receive this follow-up email either.
There will
They just sent a...
There will be a series of court cases. There will be a series of orders made by the court which defines the people who are included in the class action at the time of settlement.
Yeah, had I replied to that email, I would have been included.
I understand that. It's like saying, what you're really saying is, I got the letter but didn't see it.
That's right.
Yes.
It doesn't seem fair or just to now be excluded from this class section simply for missing one email.
Can I ask then, George, how much longer should somebody wait for you to read the email? A year?
Have they sent a second email or send a letter to the home address, or can't they send a cheque instead?
There will be a process for the court order. You need to find the court order to see whether you have any rights or not.
And there's no body to write to or no appeal process that you're aware of.
The people conducting the class action will be giving effect to a court order. Your review and appeal rights will be there.
So, you can access that through the courts.
You'll find that there will be, in the approval of the class action settlement,
yes,
there will be an order probably on the federal court website.
Yep.
You can search the file and you can get a copy of the order.
Okay. David, always great to have you here. We've got homework for next week, but I won't be here because I'm going on a long summer break. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do, of course, here year after year, but in particular this year because it's been a tough one. And I know that every listener you've helped says thank you and happy Christmas as well.
And have a good Christmas. Thank you.
You too. Have a lovely break. David Whiting, who is back with you next week, just not me.